Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, John, how are you, man? Been a while.
It has been a while. It's been too long.
Yes, it has.
I do want to say to everybody who's listening, we did try to record an episode. The technical issues were too demanding for the time slot that we
Correct.
tried to fit them in. So
The risk of new gear.
the risk of new gear, and it wasn't just the new gear. It was trying to do it differently with the new gear. We were trying to do new gear and new software at the same time.
Yeah.
So it turned into kind of a weird mess.
It was just a disaster. I'll say it. It was a disaster.
It was real bad. Every once in a while, and for everybody who is an IT professional listening, there are just some days that you cannot fix this problem.
Some days the gremlins win.
Yep. It's too bad. Hey, what are you drinking?
I actually have a new one. I've never had it before. It is the Rogue Dead Guy Ale. This is a gift from Jason.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Thank you, Jason.
again, a rare can for me.
Mhm.
Not a fan.
Not usually a can guy.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with these guys. So it talks about having hints of toffee, malt. It's nutty, it's bitter, and roast.
Okay.
So
You're going to have to tell me.
we'll have to see what it's like.
Yeah. I'm drinking a Shiner that my friend Chris bought me.
Yes,
Thanks, friend.
you're welcome. See if I can get this thing to open.
That was very satisfying.
Yes.
Wow. Look at
What
that.
you drinking? All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink. And all that. Yep. What do you think?
It's not bad. I'm just trying to figure out what it is
What are you tasting?
that I'm tasting. It's
Yeah.
it's different.
You said it was bitter. How bitter?
Oh, I don't think it's that bad on the bitter.
Okay.
Maybe it's the toffee.
Is it sweet?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not too bad. Not like the was it a chocolate beer that you tried?
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, it's good. I like it. It's good. It would just take a little. I probably need to drink a few, let it run through my system, and
Yeah, after the third one,
yeah,
tastes great.
They all taste great.
It's my favorite. What's your favorite beer? The third one.
The third one, yes. Sometimes the keg.
Yeah. Dadgummit. Anyway.
Although those years are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a beer tip.
Okay. Beer tip.
Don't know if we can turn it into a segment or not.
I love it. Beer tip.
But we were at BJ's last night by the mall
Okay.
because Monday night, and this isn't the tip, but it could be for a cheap family meal, half price pizzas, deep dish.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely do that.
Yeah. So that we went, the four of us.
So this is, sorry, we're recording this on a Tuesday. So that's
So it was last night.
Monday
Yeah, so
night.
this is a hot tip.
Monday nights, half
Monday
price
night,
pizza.
half price. Yes, all the time. So wanted to have a beer, but I needed to drive, and I tend to move to their Tatanka Stout, which is a little more than a
It's
normal
stout.
beer.
It's
Yeah, it's kind of like drinking two.
yeah.
So it's like, I'll stick with the light stuff. I'll stay with my Dr. Pepper. But on the way in, I came in by the bathrooms and realized that they were selling some of their beers in the can. But they didn't have the porter or the Tatanka Stout. And so I asked the waitress, when we were paying, and I'm like,
Any of these dark beers?
I saw these. Yeah, what about the dark beers? And she's like, well, let me go ask. And she comes back and she's like, yeah, those two are on nitro, so they don't quite do that. But they do have two that are not on the menu.
I'm sorry.
So this is tip number one.
Yeah.
They have a black lager and they have a bourbon barrel aged stout. High
I'm sorry.
gravity, baby. Woo woo.
What did you just say?
Bourbon barrel aged stout.
Is this on a hidden menu somewhere? Why would they do that?
Apparently. I'd never known they had these.
That's
So,
mean.
I'm
why
like-
why would they do that to
So
us?
I've got to go back.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to go back.
Obviously.
And I've got to try the black lager.
Obviously, we've got to go back.
Well, I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Now the bourbon barrel aged,
Mm-hmm.
that probably does need to go with pizza
You're
because
saying it needs a little
it
food
needs
in
something
your
to
stomach.
soak it up.
Uh-huh.
Because if you've ever had a
Bread.
bourbon barrel aged, that's kind of tough to say.
Yeah.
And that's
Bourbon
not the beer
barrel
yet, guys.
Yeah.
Bourbon barrel aged are strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
So
10 to 12%.
yeah.
Again, it's like drinking 2 at a time.
Yeah.
So tip number 2,
Yeah.
you can get any of the other beers
Uh-huh.
as well as the black lager or the stout and a growler for $15. And you can bring it back and get it refilled for $10.
I mean, that sounds like a good idea.
Oh, it does. Every night of the week, baby. Every night. Getting a different one tonight.
Wow.
I was shocked. And I'm like, this isn't on the menu. And she's like, well,
No.
yeah, I guess they don't necessarily share this with everybody. And I'm like, well,
Why don't they share that with some of us? How do they know? How do they know?
Well,
how
now-
do they know who to share it with?
well, now it's getting out
Okay. Well,
with this huge reach that we have.
this huge reach that we have all the way to New Zealand.
New Zealand, that's right. We didn't get an Australian. We
Listen,
got a New Zealander. Bay of Plenty, close enough for me.
Oceania,
Check the
baby.
box.
We'll take it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
We are across the continents.
Yes. I'm going to say that we've officially done them all except Antarctica.
Well,
And I don't anticipate an Antarctica, and I typically don't even see that as an option on the list.
yeah, I don't think that probably there's a whole lot of listening going on down there.
No.
That's a lot of marine biologists.
They're talking to the aliens down there, man.
They're talking to the penguins.
The penguins, yes. Yes. So,
Oh goodness! Well,
all right.
So we wanted to spend a little bit of time, since it's been so long, kind of going. We just at least want to mention that that the last thing that we talked about was the kind of the Apple versus PC
Yep.
conversation, and I haven't said it directly to you because I wanted to say it on the podcast and make sure that I got this reaction.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but I am using a Mac again.
Yes, you are.
It turned out to be more than I could bear. And I don't say that lightly. I was not trying to be a quitter because I don't like quitting. But that was pretty tough.
Tell me your hurdles.
My hurdles are connectivity to all the other computers that I service.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So it's not
Technically not the PC's fault, though.
not the PC's fault. I will
Apple-
say that yes, it has been very Apple driven that there is this divide.
And there's no reason why Apple can't bring their remote desktop to a PC.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to kill their mojo and what they're trying to do.
It's really not, especially with how much the remote desktop costs.
Correct.
So I like, if you're even like, I don't know how to even say that. Like, it costs a lot of money to buy it, the remote desktop controller, whatever.
Yep.
For Mac to Mac control. It's really hard to get your entire organization set up well to be able to handle that even after you've done that. But I don't see it. And there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to
Correct.
be controlled by a
Any other hurdles?
PC. So I really missed, wouldn't a hurdle, but I really missed the integration with my phone and mostly phone. I'm not really on my tablet anymore, with not only like files being more accessible,
Sure.
like automatically appearing places. I missed that, but I also missed the ability to copy and paste from one of these wireless devices to another.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's very nice. You don't know that you miss it until all of a sudden you're like, but that's on my phone. No. Like, it's just not as fun.
PC makes you stronger.
Yes, it does.
You have to actually think.
You have to flex those muscles.
Yes, you do.
I don't have time to flex muscles.
There's always ways to fix it.
There are
Always.
always ways to fix it.
So,
Yeah, I feel like it was the same. It was the same type of thing. So we've talked about this. I think back when I was at Pine Cove, I tried to go iPad only
yes.
a couple different times, and it's the same type of thing. I feel like because iPad's very capable tablet, but you have to like do that extra bit of thought to figure out how you're going to accomplish the task in front of you.
Yep.
And it's just at some point, I've got 3 kids. I don't need my brain to work harder right now.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you actually called it a tablet
Yeah,
because that's what it is.
it is a tablet.
Yes.
The iPad?
The iPad, yes.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a tablet.
Well, the iPad has kind of become synonymous like Kleenex and things for the leader in a particular market.
Yeah,
And
no,
so-
I can't do that with this. I was there when they started this. I feel like if I was there when Kleenex started, I could call it a facial tissue
Sure.
without any hesitation.
Well, I will tell you, Gen Z,
Mm-hmm.
they're killing me on the terms.
Are they?
Oh, they're killing me. They're killing me.
That's not cool.
They say they have a Dell all-in-one.
Yeah,
You would think that they could translate that to being like an iMac.
yeah,
It's an all-in-one computer.
right.
They call them a monitor.
No,
And they say, we have a problem with our monitor.
no.
And I'm like, what monitor are you having trouble with?
This.
And then you start asking, and they're like, that's an all-in-one computer. That's not a monitor.
Yeah, that's a computer.
Oh.
That's
I'm
a
like, You
PC.
didn't connect the dots?
That's a personal computer right there.
Yes, it is. It is.
Wow. Wow. No, this is
Yeah.
okay. So this is a fantastic segue, Chris. I don't know if
Okay.
you did this on purpose.
Sure, I did.
You, you are a master. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of modern support,
Yes.
where we are in this world of being IT support.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Chris, you remember, because you were actually doing it, what IT support looked like at the turn of the century.
You make me sound old when
I'm
you say
just
it that
saying,
way. Jeez,
we're
man.
both old. You were actually doing training and then support
Sure.
early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just I don't think that everyone fully appreciates the difference between, say, 2004 IT support
Okay. Yeah.
and 2024
Sure.
IT support.
Sure. Because there's so many people out here now
Mm-hmm.
that they either were possibly not born yet,
Yeah.
interacting with some of that at Pine Cove already. Wow.
I mean,
Um,
we did have a conversation earlier today with our staff where somebody referenced Chris referenced graduating from seminary in 1997. And
Ooh,
we
yeah.
had a staff member who remained nameless who was like, I was born in 1998.
that's when you feel old.
And Chris was graduating from seminary. I was in high school. It's not like I was
I should have
Anyway.
been graduating TJC in that year.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I was being a loser.
Oh, whatever.
But you know what? I stayed with it.
It's an important journey, Chris.
And it is on this side of it, sure. But on that side of it, my mom and dad should have
Who?
whipped me up one side and down the other. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying. It was definitely different. Back then, you really could say that Macs really did suck.
Mm-hmm.
Mac OS was wretched.
Mm-hmm.
And everything then was Windows versus Novell.
Oh my gosh.
And then the real uber geeks
Just
were
send
Linux.
send us a boost if you know what Novell is. That's who I want to hear from.
Novell NetWare, baby.
Mm.
IPX, SPX, you remember that with Novell?
No.
Their version of basically TCP IP, if you will.
Oh yeah.
Incredible for communication on a network.
This is like Laserdisc. One of these won.
I love Laserdisc. I know people would hate on it. Man, I tell you what, Laserdisc was amazing. It still is. Imagine in today's, I know we're getting off tangent here.
Yeah.
In fact, we just had this conversation the other day. Imagine Laserdisc updated for now.
Uh-huh.
Imagine that disc with Blu-ray level quality and compression.
Yeah.
You could have the full Lord of the Rings extended edition trilogy
Sure.
on one disc.
Yeah, but that's because it was the size of a record.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
who wants to carry that around?
this
I went
would
the
be-
opposite direction. I really liked when they came out with mini discs.
Yeah.
You remember
yeah,
like the
yeah,
discs that were
yeah,
in the little
the Sony.
like tape looking cartridge?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
But hear me out here. This would be, if George Lucas still owned Star Wars,
Yeah.
that would be his dream.
Yeah.
He could re-release everything on a whole new format
Yeah, he could.
and soak us all for money.
Oh
And we
my
would all
gosh.
go, please, Papa.
He would do
Can
it
we have
too.
more?
I would not buy the new stuff.
Oh man, I will always be a fan of Laserdisc. I know I was young when it came out, so
That's hilarious.
there's some romanticizing of Laserdisc and what it could have been.
We had a laser disc player in our elementary school,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
that is amazing," and also that is enormous.
Yes. Yes. So, I guess we'll circle it back. IPX SPX was essentially their TCP IP. Tremendous protocol for a network. Chatty, so you had to be careful with how you segment and how all that worked, but it was rock solid. Absolutely rock solid. And Microsoft was trying to make a name for themselves, and they literally reverse engineered the protocol and baked it into Windows and said, oh, it's no problem if you have a Novell network. We can talk that language.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. That was back when
to go,
Microsoft was still
Microsoft.
scrappy trying to compete. And they literally pummeled Novell.
Well, I mean, you get a computer that can talk both languages,
Oh, yeah.
they're going to win.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Active Directory, thing of beauty. Some people hate it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I love that you're geeking out over AD.
I love Active Directory.
Yeah, sure.
We don't use it at work anymore. We've got a great product in Jump Cloud. Shout out.
Jump Cloud does your AD.
It's essentially
directory.
AD in the cloud.
Yeah,
It's a whole lot more than that,
but it's doing that.
but it's doing that. Yeah. But yeah, love Active Directory. So robust. You could build anything off of it just about that you wanted. Yeah, so back then, all Windows basically, lots of Cisco. So that hadn't changed. And that was back in the good old days of when the IT guy said, this is what we're doing, and it got done.
Mm-hmm.
In today's
Yeah,
day
we
and
don't do that
age, It's a
anymore.
little bit different.
Okay, let's talk about why that is. So
You want to get me in trouble.
no, I don't think either one of our bosses are listening to this. Seth, are you out there?
He could be.
Maybe. He's not going to disagree with any of this. It's anyway. Feel free to take the fifth. I don't think that's going to have to happen though. Here's what I was going to say. So there was a time when I liken this a lot to when I first started. We may have talked about this already on this podcast. When I started, my father did not care about cars.
Wow.
I
okay.
asked him what his first car was when I was a high schooler or something like that, and he said a blue one. He just that's never been something that he's cared about at all. And I've always been fascinated with go fast machines of all sorts.
Oh, yeah.
So loved cars, loved Matchbox cars when I was a kid. I love just the look of, so many cars, the Stingray Corvette was one of my favorite. Like it looked like something out of a comic book to me.
Yeah.
Like this should be Batman's, kind of car. Anyway. So that like there was always this fascination with things. I remember when I first found out about the $1 million muscle machine, the McLaren F1, and that they had the driver's seat in the middle because it was, of course, built by an F1 company.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that didn't like even register at that point. It was the fact that like this is just the coolest thing I've ever seen. And finding, cars that could go so fast, so quick. Anyway, I just remember really enjoying that. Motorcycles, planes, like all of these different things I just really loved. But my dad didn't relate to that at all. And so I didn't really know that much about them. And when I realized my love for driving, when I was 15 and 16, and actually before that, because my mom's awesome and let me drive before I was legally allowed to. But really started driving and enjoying that. I had a love for driving, but I didn't like everything that was happening underneath the engine or underneath the hood was very elves with hammers to me. Like that's the only way I can describe it is like I had no idea what was going on. I knew there were moving parts. I knew it wasn't a fantasy world of, little small moving creatures or anything like that. But I didn't have any clue. When I got out of college, I got to work in a maintenance group for a while, and quite a bit of that was working with one of the mechanics, and he taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And so in that like transition of in my brain loving this thing and knowing how to use it, because I even knew how to drive a stick by the time I was in college, but still had very little understanding of the vehicle itself. Would very easily have just torn up engines, not understanding them well, to then being able to know how they work. This is where a lot of modern IT kind of is now, where there was a while when it felt like the IT guy was he could say how things were going to go, because it was very much like a,
there almost was no other alternative.
You have no idea how this works.
Yeah.
You know that you want to be able to send an email.
Yeah.
But you don't, that you want to be able to you want to be able to hit the internet, but you don't know how to get there. You don't know anything about it. And now it's like everybody has, just the smallest bit of knowledge about it, enough to be dangerous with it.
Yes.
And now, well, this place that I used to work did it this way.
Yep.
And they don't understand. Like that takes you're coming from a completely different infrastructure.
Correct.
For these things, and you don't know how it works. You just know that it worked somewhere else.
Yep.
And you actually don't know if it's still working there or not.
Correct.
To be honest.
Correct. Yeah, I mean that's been an interesting transition to see. Starting out, you just use whatever the company had, and most of the time it was a shared resource.
Yeah.
It wasn't dedicated to you.
No.
And it wasn't a full-blown computer.
Mm-mm.
It was a dumb terminal. Some had amber, some had green. Depending on who you work for, who they got it from.
Yeah.
At Toys R Us, it was always a green dumb terminal. Nothing but text, basic menus, jump around with tab and your arrow keys, and that was it.
Yeah.
Go to Office Max, they had amber. Screens sure looked a whole lot alike.
Really?
Menus sure looked a whole lot alike. But there were subtle differences. But I mean, that's all it was. And it really wasn't until I got to working for Cox Communications, to where I technically had a dedicated computer being support. So everybody had to have a computer because you were having to get into systems and check it out. And there was a lot of graphical pieces at that point. And then make it to Pine Cove, and it was very much You have what you have because it got donated.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, this is a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
And we were literally piecing together components from dead computers
Mm-hmm.
to make a functional computer
Mm-hmm.
just to keep things running.
Yeah, I remember the computer that I started on
Yeah.
in maintenance. That was a shared computer, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason that I spent most of my time at it and other guys didn't get to spend much time at it is because they kept offloading their computer work to me.
They didn't want to mess with that newfangled computer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot in that. And it's not all bad. You know, there's some give and take. You know, you need your people to buy in to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
At some level, it's, hey guys, this is just where we are. You're just gonna have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and we're gonna move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some give and take. A good example of our user base bringing something to us that actually ended up being better versus what we had at the time was Zoom.
Yeah.
We were using Cisco at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked great, but it wasn't the best for interacting with people who were outside of the company at the time.
Well, see, that was the thing is Zoom appears as a solution to everybody else in a time where all of a sudden everyone needs this tool.
Yeah.
Whereas before, when you're making a decision about this, you're thinking, what is the most stable tool that I can buy
Yep.
for my company? Not thinking, well, in a few months, everybody's going to need this.
Yeah.
You're thinking, how do I set this room up to be the best, like, possible solution for something that's going to be so rock solid?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we all saw what happened when all of a sudden everybody has Zoom.
Yep.
It's not great,
No,
but it's what we had to do.
no, but it was more robust than what we had,
Yeah.
and it gave you the freedom to have to get out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great example of our users going, hey, we really think this is a better product. And you look into it and you're like, okay, so what would it take
Mm-hmm.
to get the existing hardware up to that level?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, for that cost, I can just go ahead and go to Zoom.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I do have the sunk cost in this other hardware, but the beauty of that Zoom had is I could still reuse that room equipment,
Mm-hmm.
point it into Zoom, and you can still leverage it.
Yeah.
And now over time, that year's aged out, and we've gone to pure Zoom gear. But that's a good example of where the user base
Mm-hmm.
can actually have a good idea and go, hey, you should evaluate this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody's always going to be like, well, I have to have this because I'm most efficient here. And that may be. But sometimes you get down to sheer numbers. When it's going to cost $1,600 to $2,000 to buy you a laptop that's going to get used for 3 months, or I can buy you a $500 Chromebook, and it's literally just running a browser. Everything you do exists out of a browser. I'm going to buy a $500 Chromebook,
Yeah.
and then we're going to make the argument for why we didn't buy you a $2,000 laptop that collects dust 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And then on top of that is some of the additional licensing when you get into something like Jump Cloud.
Yeah.
You know, it's $30 for a permanent license to manage a Chromebook. I'm at $12 per user per month. You know, and once I add that license, I have that license for perpetuity, and I'm
Mhm.
paying for it every single month. So I'm going to pay for it 9 months out of the year that I don't need it.
Hmm.
You got to factor all those costs in,
Yeah.
and then you can go and say,
This is what
I
it
know,
actually
I know,
costs.
I know. We're saying we don't like this, but this is a huge savings, and you're literally just going to open the Chrome browser, and that's where you're going to stay. I may need to show you how to print. It's not that hard, but I can show you.
Not anymore.
Here's some subtle ways to add some additional applications that you potentially need, or we can even push it to you.
Yeah,
and
that's
you're
really
rocking and
nice.
rolling.
Yeah. In a corporate setting where you're having to make sure that all of the computers that are going out at any given time are fitted with the same stuff.
Yes, it's nice to be able to set it up once and push it to a multitude of
Mhm.
devices. That's amazing. So I mean, there's always going to be some back and forth there. In the corporate world, I don't know how much of that is happening. I still hear a lot of initiatives around BYOD.
Hmm. I remember talking about that 10 years ago.
We're talking about it again. It doesn't mean we're going to go down that road,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of the things that's being considered. I mean, where we're at right now is we're literally, here's the cost for a Chromebook, here's the cost for a PC, here's the cost for a Mac, here's who has to have a device year round, so they're probably going to have a Mac or a PC.
Mm-hmm.
But these summer use devices, that's where we're really trying to hone in on and go, this is where the real savings is at.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we have it. And I understand that you want this shiny Mac over here, but we're trying to save money for the ministry.
Yeah.
Because every dollar that we don't spend could go into scholarship. It could go into upkeep on facilities, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So let's be mindful of how we're spending money.
Yeah. I want to talk about though, like that mentality of like actually measuring the cost. Like that feels to me like something that a lot of people can relate to
Sure.
in just general. But I want to make sure like that we talk about the fact that like that measuring the cost is present in so many more things than just a cost of like the actual money that it takes to get
Correct.
something done. You're talking about the cost of like training with a lot of these things. You're talking about the cost of support in terms of man hours and
Correct.
with how well something happens and stuff like that. And your organization is probably, I don't know, are they? I would say, yeah, they have to be more cross-platform than we are. We are now almost solely Mac, which is part of the reason for me going back to
a Mac. Yeah,
to a Mac.
that's fair enough. We still teeter around 60% Mac, 40% PC. So I mean, it's still fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably stay that way for a while. I guess maybe some of those numbers shift when I consider Chromebook. But Chromebook is only in a handful of spots right now. But it has the potential that it could spread out. I know you experimented. There's a hard word.
Yeah.
With that yourself. And some of the other hidden things in that is when you are cross-platform, that didn't necessarily mean you always have a single pane of glass to manage everything.
No.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
You may have to go to AD to manage some elements of your PCs and some pieces of a Mac to a certain degree. And if you've got a Chromebook, you're going over here to Google. If you've got an Android phone, you're going to Google. If you want to manage a Mac well, you need to find a system like Jamf to bring your Macs into that, bring your iPads into that, your iPhones.
Yeah, I know we've been talking
and
about
before
that.
you know it, you're managing out of 3 or 4 different systems. And so you're always looking for that holy grail of, give me one pane of glass. And Jump Cloud is the closest thing that we found. The only thing they don't manage currently is a Chromebook, but I can get everything else in there.
Yeah.
But again, if you're so dependent on Active Directory, it's hard to bring in something like a Jump Cloud or an Okta or whatever that may be to manage that. And you have multiple systems, and and when you lose somebody and you bring somebody new in, and maybe they're green because it's a lower position, and you've got to spin them up one at a time on each of these management systems and what that looks like.
Right.
The amount of time and effort and documentation that has to go into that.
Yeah.
And so you're really pouring time and resources into that person, and you want them to stick around.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have to keep redoing that.
And that person is having to spend so much of their time in, the menu browsing portion of their job.
Yes.
As I like to call it. We all have seen it and probably done it where we're just looking at we open the application and we just look at the menus one by one. Where is this thing that I'm looking for?
Yep.
I mean,
I did that the other day
Well,
with Google.
And I would say the more panes of glass that you have to open, even if you're familiar with them, the
Yeah.
more times you will find yourself in that position of going, oh, where is that here? Like what? I don't do this every day from this management site or this
Yeah.
view.
I was trying to just find something as simple as the strike through in
Yeah.
Google Sheet.
Yeah.
Or not. It was it? No, it wasn't Sheet. It was Doc. And
Yeah.
I'm like, where'd it go? It used to be on the bar, I thought.
Yeah.
And then finally I found it buried in a menu,
Yeah.
2 layers in, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Okay, boom.
I guess nobody else is using this.
It must be for it to come off the bar and be buried in a 2 layers
No,
in.
I get that for sure. There's a lot of figuring that out. And I would say like the other thing that makes it hard right now, kind of in the same aspect, is whenever, because there's a lot of push now for iterations of software and hardware both to improve every year.
Yep.
And like significantly improve.
Yep.
Like I think there's probably some market research going on inside of that like if you're not giving a significant bump in either hardware or software every year, that your market share is going down.
Yeah.
So it seems like that because like the number of things that they will change, and I joke with our senior pastor that a lot of times they're fixing things that aren't broken.
Correct.
In order to make these changes or whatever. And you like, I was trying to explain to somebody, like they were like, oh, you're a real Mac fanatic. And I was like, I don't really see myself that way. And they're like, well, you watch like the keynotes. And I was like, I feel like I have to watch the keynotes so that I know what's changing. Like I have to watch these announcements of not just the hardware, but like all of the software that they're changing and the stuff that they're bringing in, because I have to be able to support everything that they're saying.
Correct.
Is coming down the pipeline. And it's like, this is not like the number of things that you expect your IT guy to know off the top of his head.
Yeah.
Is a little bit insane.
Yeah. And even if you are predominantly one platform,
Yeah.
it's still hard to know it all.
Yeah.
And then when you are spread out across 3, 4, 5 different platforms,
Mm-hmm.
you can't know it all. At
No.
best, you're a jack of all trades, but you're not going to be an expert in anything.
No.
And especially if you're a small team.
What you're an expert in are the things that break all the time.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Those are the things that your IT professional will be an expert in. I guarantee it.
Yes.
If it breaks all the time, this guy is going to know exactly what to do, and he can probably do it with shortcuts.
Yep.
Because, oh my gosh.
Yep.
The number of times there for a while that I was having to like get back into the kernel on Macs in order to allow certain things to happen because they'd locked down all these permissions. Anyway, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, guys. Anyway.
Yep. I blame Apple.
You,
It's the
you
Apple
do blame,
effect.
You do blame Apple.
They're the one that spawned all this stuff up.
I understand, but I watched the keynote. I saw the Flow guy.
And what did it remind you of?
Yeah. Maybe.
Apple.
Yeah.
They had their different terminologies.
They do, and it was just as they was trying to be slick.
I mean, I'll be honest. Any more of the keynotes have almost become a drinking game.
I mean, not I'm not advertising that happens or anything, but maybe it does.
Yeah.
Because
At a minimum, it's a bingo game.
yeah.
At a minimum.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's an absolute drinking game.
Like, are you kidding me?
Beautiful.
Say it one more time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Magical.
Magical.
That was my favorite there for a while. It was
Yeah.
magical. It's magical. It just works. Sure it does.
Sure it does, buddy.
You got a lot of guys sitting there with their iFixit kits going, I don't know that he knows what that word means.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what that word means.
Can't remember the guy's name, but the one guy on YouTube out of New York, he sure lets him have it.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about Marquez?
No, he does all the repairs.
Oh, the repair guy.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Shoot.
But he blasts them like crazy.
Absolutely.
And he's a huge proponent of being able to at least have the ability to fix your own stuff.
Yeah, right to repair
Yeah.
is for real.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense that I can't, look at this thing and say, like, oh, well, the battery needs to be replaced. I should be able to do that.
Couple of screws, the back should come off, pop it out, pop it in, call it a day.
I'm not saying that we all need to, be able to solder the motherboard, but there's a few things that we should be able to do.
Sure. And if Jason and Jacob are listening, they probably just took a drink. Because I said, call it a day.
Call it a day.
They have identified that I say that quite a bit.
Well, we all have things.
So I'm trying to break it. The first step is realizing that you do it. And then you try to catch yourself.
Yeah. I think Pine Cove has a way of doing that. They make a cheer out of it.
Yeah.
And then every time you say it, you got to listen to them cheer at you.
Yep. Let's count them.
Anyway. Bro, I got nothing.
It's okay. It's first show back in a while.
Yeah.
It's good to hit the ground running again.
Absolutely. We don't have any boosts. We don't have any.
No booze. But in fairness, we haven't done a show in a while.
No blades. No bows.
Yeah.
Leave your weapons here.
Did we talk about OP3?
No.
Some of the
Did we talk about
open
OP3?
podcast standards as far as being able to track stuff?
I don't think so. If we did, it was a while ago.
So it's been interesting to compare it against RSS.com, who we use for hosting, to see. And the numbers are way different.
Okay.
And so the question is, which one of these is lying?
Yeah, right.
So, but
you've plugged in OP3?
Yeah, I can send you the link.
Yeah.
I can put it in the show notes if anybody else wants to follow it. But it's interesting to see, again, we haven't done a show in over a month.
Yeah.
So in the last 7 days, we've still had 3 downloads.
Wow.
It's like, who's still out there downloading? We haven't updated it forever.
We haven't. Yeah.
7 in the last 30 days.
Okay, cool.
6 whole downloads in July, baby.
Yeah, well.
Woot. So it's interesting to look at.
You just wooted.
I did. I wooted.
That wasn't even a woo. That was a woot.
These are big numbers for our show, man.
Absolutely.
So
especially in a month that we were basically silent.
Doing nothing, yeah. Yeah. The most, wow, look at that.
Listen, summer is hard.
It's been even longer than we realize. The last show was May 31st.
No.
Yes. 2 months ago, man.
Well, I can very much explain being gone for the entire summer.
Oh, yeah.
Because both of us are kind of ridiculously busy.
Slightly busy.
But, wow. That doesn't seem possible. Well, I guess it does because we were going to do a show in the middle of that, and that's the one that just
kind of fell
cratered.
Apart. Yeah. I'm checking RSS.com real quick to make sure that date is right.
Mm-hmm. I'd be interested. May 31st.
May 31st.
Wow. Okay. Well.
So that was intriguing. In May, we got a show out on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we turned around and got a show out on the 31st.
I remember because the 27th was actually done before that, and we took a little while to get it out.
Yeah, it was in the can for a bit.
And then the 31st was recorded and then basically released. And
then one other fun statistic. Our big show, where we really exploded on the scene.
Yeah.
Yes, your speakers are working, where we're talking about going to the event and seeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're up to 93 whopping downloads. We're closing in on 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no
for
reason
whatever reason, that episode just like poof. Next closest is at 58.
We said all the right things.
Third episode.
Yeah. Which wasn't the third episode the one that we were like, this is amazing. Like all of a sudden people are listening.
Well, that would have been episode. I think that was actually episode 6 because
Okay.
5 is the one that exploded. Before that, it was like 10, maybe 20,
Mm.
and then that one came out, and then like 3 days, we had made it to like 50 or 60, and it's like, what in the world? And we still don't know what triggered it.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if it just randomly ended up on somebody's front page of like new podcasts to listen to.
Showed up at just the right time.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, episode 3 was the big one on podcasting 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Podcasting 2.0.
podcasting 2.0.
That was a fire hydrant.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, and we are 2.0 compliant.
Yes, we are.
We need a little badge.
Man, they should definitely give out a badge for that.
They've joked about it.
Have they?
They have. Yes.
Okay. Well,
So-
I'm beyond joking. They should definitely do that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll send you the link to OP3.
Nice.
Get it out there for everybody else that potentially wants to track it. Interesting resource just because you're trying to, basically it gets appended to your RSS feed so that everything that hits your RSS feed gets redirected into them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I say one of these two is lying,
Yeah.
or at least skewed. Let me say that. One of them is skewed
Yeah, we'll say skewed.
because they don't line up on the numbers.
No.
So,
I mean, do they ever? The words don't mean the same thing in these two things.
yeah. So, like, here's a great example, and then I know we need to get out of here. RSS.com, in the last 30 days, they say we've had 12 downloads. I go to OP3, they say 7 in the last 30 days.
I mean, that's a pretty significant difference.
It is. I mean, that's like a 50% difference almost.
Yeah.
It's like, so somebody's got it
Wrong.
wrong somewhere. So, all right. Well, enjoyed it, man.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
We need to do this again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, not
Get
2
back
months.
yes, get back on cadence.
All right, bro. Grateful for you.
Yes, sir. You too. See you, everybody. See you.
India, Tango, Mike, stand by, 33, 33, 33, Rebelizer out.